kick. Welcome back. On today's part 3 episode, we are going to be doing the rear tail section alignment. Meaning, even though now this is 2 separate frame pieces being put together, here and here, it is going to be perfectly straight as if it was assembled all together. I hope. Measuring sucks, man, but it's important. There are multiple steps and multiple measurements that you can take based off of your rear axle with the rest of the frame to make sure your rear wheel alignment will be true and straight to the center alignment of your frame. Blah, 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 blah. I'm starting to sound like a chopper. So, if anybody caught my TikTok, I did say that you do not need a frame jig to ever do a hardtail kit on your softtail motorcycle. And yes, a lot of people are like, you're not using a jig, your frame's not in a jig, how's it gonna be straight if you don't have a jig? Well, that's why I'm here. So come on, let me show you. Let's fucking measure shit. And yes, you can see we do have the tank, the trees, and the bars on. Not permanently right now, we were just a little saucy the other night and just wanted to do a little mock-up, and they look pretty dope. But for one of these steps, we are going to have the gas tank off, so off it comes. Oh, look, guys, it's a goyle. I wonder if she's gonna be a heavy metal singer. So I know on my previous video, I did show 1, 2, or 3 clips of me, tapping in the hardtail kit up onto the slugs and up onto the frame. But I only showed a little clip because I literally beat this thing on for over 45 minutes. And last night I tried to get it off because I haven't drilled all the holes yet. And I could not physically, for the life of me, get this thing off the frame. So for now, it's staying on. So when I originally cut the tail section of the softtail frame off, I did not go based off of directions or certain measurements. I just went based off of line of sight of what I know what to do, left a little down here, measured properly at the transmission base, and then hammered it on. So right as of now, this is exactly how I chopped and just slammed it on. So we're gonna measure it and see if we got it in the first shot. But first, the rear tail section alignment is so important to be straight with the rest of the frame because you don't want the front of the frame to be center and then have the back of the frame be tilted to the left, tilted to the right, or up or down, throwing off the angle because then the bike's gonna veer this way, the bike's gonna veer that way, and then when you measure your rear wheel adjustment when you are putting your rear tire on, then your rear wheel is going to be off from the rest of the frame if your actual rear section of the frame is off, and it's just going to mess everything up. So make it straight. Ish. Nothing's perfect, except for my dance moves. So the first line of measurement we are going to be taking is off the front motor mounting surface. This motor mounting surface holds the front of the motor. On this 75-pound motor mounting piece, there are left and right holes for your forward controls. And lucky for all of us, back then, Harley-Davidson engineers actually knew what they were doing. So this side has 3 holes, and this side has 2 holes. This side has 1 extra hole for the support because this is the side that bolts to your kickstand, holding the weight of your 75,000-pound motorcycle. But this works to our advantage because this is all one solid piece. And all of this was put in a jig to be perfectly straight. So the engine sits perfectly aligned in your frame. So then your left and right forward control are perfectly also straight. Just so you're not sitting like this. So what I'm getting at is these 2 bottom bolts and these 2 bolts are perfectly even. So the left side forward control mount and the right side forward control mount are perfectly straight with the drivetrain, which makes it straight with the frame. And not like actually straight with the frame tubing, but perfectly parallel to the center on each side of the frame. Meaning this whole section is exactly 10.5 inches. So half of 10.5 is 5.25. So we have 5.25 off of this leg and 5.25 off of this leg. I'll make that line a little bigger just so you can see it. And yes, this is 4,362 times easier if you have a laser, but not everybody has a laser or has the money to go buy one. Poor man's laser. Man, back in my day, we didn't have any of them fancy schmancy tools anyway. So just off of that one little measurement, this line right here is now perfectly even on both sides in the middle of this entire frame. Meaning this line right here is now center of the bike, center of the mount support, center between the down tubes, all the way up to center of the neck. Which transfers over to being center of the backbone all the way down to where the center of the rear axle should be. Giving you perfect frame alignment. And I know it looks a little funny and it looks a little off because this line is off, way off centered from the two front motor mounting holes. But that's just because the engine and transmission are pushed more to your left because of the rear belt or rear chain, and then to even out everything on this side, it's just offsetted a hair. And now that I mentioned it, I always did want to know. So this is about 1.25 inches, and this is about 1 7/8 inches. So 5/8 of an inch, man, ain't that a trivia question and a half? In an Evo style softail frame, how much is a engine offset from the center of the frame? I'm gonna have to say 5/8 of an inch, Steve. Show me 5/8. Bing! Yeah! It's really hot down here. Whew. Had to change my shirt. So now back to the reasoning behind these two bolt holes. Since they are both even and they both run perfectly parallel down the bike with the center of the frame, this front hole and this front hole are going to be our very first front to rear axle measurement. Now, since this is a pre-welded hardtail kit, meaning another company had it in their jig to their specs and they tacked and welded it all together, then you should trust that this tail section is perfectly straight. Let's hope. So first, get yourself a bolt that's that same thread pitch and have it stick out about 1.5 inches. And the stock axle is actually perfect to use because now it's too long. Because before we had about a 12-inch width swing arm, and now we're only working with about a 9-inch. Baby girl was on some Slim Fast. We don't just cut weight. We cut inches. So once your axle is in the kit, you can see now, once that's flush, how much more we're working with. So what you want to do is come out past the adjusters, just enough to where that's all the way bottomed out, and this side's all the way bottomed out. But still having enough distance right here to get a reading off of your tape measure. Wow, man, actually, just look at that. See where my finger is? Oh, it's hard to see with the camera. See the whole bottom of the frame? Watch it to the back, right? Disappears. Oh, that's pretty. It's like watching a beautiful sunset. So now I would normally use like a ratchet strap or some wire ties or something, but all I got is tape. So we're gonna use some tape. I would normally strap, to up here or to there just to keep this thing pulled in and tight so it is perfectly bottomed out on both sides and doesn't move while you're doing any of your measurements. Watch how cool this is. Boom! So something just like this, whatever, doesn't matter what it looks like, just so it's nice and tight and pulled into the frame. So you can see here, it is not on the adjuster thread, it is slammed all the way up to the tip of the slides. Now this side is really freaking close, but it's all the way in on this side too. So now we're going to use our tape measuring tool and measure from here to here. So just make sure it grabs the end of the bolt, not the tip. Grab the threads. And pull her all the way on down. This does help if you have someone else to hold up there, but this is just for me to show you how to do it. So once you're up on the threads and you pull her nice and tight, you get your measurement, look straight down at her, and we are sitting at a perfect, I'm going to call that a perfect 40 right there. Then just check it from the sides. Write down your measurement so you don't forget. And now you're going to have to flip your axle so the head is sticking out on the other side so you can get the exact same measurement, hopefully the exact same measurement, but just so you're not measuring off of the threads or a different... Ah! So that's why it's a good thing to use ratchet straps or something else so you don't have to, take the tape off and then do it again. Whatever. Sort of kind of like this. So now this side matches this side just how it was before. Now insert said bolt on the other side. And measure again, baby. Oh, yeah. 40. They kind of match. So we do have a perfect 40 and 40 from the even holes in the front to the end of the axle in the back. First shot. Just kidding, guys. Some people are that damn good. Me, I am not. The right side or the exhaust side of the frame was 1/16 of an inch off, which is still pretty damn good for your first try. So you can see this is perfectly flush to the frame, and this side had to be bumped out that little bit. That little doo-doo hair space and this top end doo-doo space could have been your biggest nightmare. And I know what you're thinking. It's only a little 16th of an inch. What could possibly go wrong? If your frame is off, then your wheel's gonna be off, then your drive sprocket's gonna be off. Just take the little bit of extra time and make it mwah! Because then it'd be like you going down to the Harley dealership to buy a new bike and the salesman saying, oh yeah, this is a beautiful bike, the rear of the frame is just bent. And then you'd be like, what do you mean bent? And he'd say something like, oh well, it's not bent, it's just like a 16th of an inch off from the rest of the bike. Yeah, now it sounds a little bit more intense. On to the next measurement. So none of these seams are tacked yet. The slugs on the inside are just so tight that I was able to hammer beat the right side just to get that little bit of, space gap to make both measurements even. And yes, guys, a little gap is okay. A lot of gap is better if you know what I'm saying. But a little gap like this and like this is no problem for a welder once it gets its final weld. And yet again, another awesome reasoning behind why you use slugs. Because now the welding wire or rod has the slug to get in there, then to build up, then to melt the slug to the tubing, fill it in, make it permanent. So back on subject, second line of measurement. Up on your stem, you have this beautiful boy right here. This triple tree steering stem bearing adjuster locker bolt is drilled dead center with threads. So since your neck bearings are tapered, once your trees are tightened down, it is evenly center of the stem, which is evenly in the center of your neck, which if your frame is not bent, then should be the center of the backbone, leading to the center of the tail section. So step one is to tighten this bolt down a little more than average just so the trees don't move. Then find the bolt that fits and put her down almost till it's all the way in, like that. So since we did start with the center line right here, In theory, if none of this was even here and we had a straight laser on this guy, that line and the center of this little bolt should be dead centered perfect. But since we don't have a laser and all this crap is in the way, I'm gonna say that and that and that. But there is a way to tell, so let me show you. And I know some frames have, gas tank mounts and the original mount was cut and people like welded or did shit with the frame. Don't go based off of that. 87.625 of people don't measure anything. They just drill and weld. So always go off of a factory threaded area. Now what you want to do again, remove the tape for the 27th time, but you're going to want to do the same exact kind of thing, just with the axle moved a little bit. All right, never mind. So the original tape or strap idea isn't going to work because I do not have the proper thread adjuster bolts. So we just used some wheel spacers on the end of this lengthened axle, tightened it down, and then hammered it to the back. So the back side is bottomed down on this side, and the back side is bottomed out on this side. Well, if there was a ratchet strap on here, I would go like this. That ain't going nowhere. You have to say that when you ratchet something down. It's the law. And now you're gonna need some string. The thinner, the better. Not this. Huh. I'm wondering on how long of a piece we need. Where's that? All right, so about a 5-foot piece. Fuck. I might have to run to the neighbor's house. Y'all got some sugar? You're not gonna believe this one. Sewing thread. Guys, just go buy a damn laser. I'm gonna make this work. So now that you have rope or thread, you're gonna want to measure the center distance of the tail section and make a mark on the rear axle. So we are working with a perfect 8.5. I don't know why I questioned reading a tape measure upside down, and 8 is the same shape upside down. What the fuck? I'm dyslexic. Half of 8.5 is 4.25. And then make your mark so you have 4.25 and $4.25 on the other side. So now, if we're good, that starter line, the center of that bolt that you just put into the stem, and this line should all be perfectly even with each other. So now take your string, go around this bolt, pull it tight down the whole length of the frame, and wrap her around the mark that you made on your axle. This is ridiculous. Make yourself a nice little poop loop. Send her on and pull her on down. Line her up on your center axle line. Then just wrap her around a time or two and tie a knot. So with tension, now that bad boy goes all the way up the bike to the head. So now, if we're good and ready to, move on to the next step, everything on the left side of the string and the right side of the string of the measurements of the frame should be equal in the front and the back. And just just to make sure you are in the center of the tail section, you can measure from this inner side and get about 4 1/8. Then measure from this inner side and get 4 1/8. All right, man, so this was a little difficult to do with one hand. So, and I forgot to do a little pre-measurement lines. So let me show you what I did. So like you already saw, the center axle line. On the pan cross member, the center line, inner measurement to inner measurement. And up here on the top of the pan, we got these that little divot indent and this little divot indent right here. We took a measurement from the inside of that to the inside of that and made a mark at the center. So we're at center of the axle, center of the seat pan, top and bottom, and center of the neck. So as you can see, we are straight. Oh, it's hard to tell with the tube. That guy did okay. He did okay, actually. I take it back, he measured. But when we're working down, thread's right on the center line. Working further south, thread right on the center line. And then obviously down at the base, thread's right on the line. That is a perfect straight line all the way up the frame. And doing that for the past 40 minutes, or going out and buying a laser level, go buy a laser. I'm really broke, or else this video would have been a lot shorter. It started raining outside, so I had to bring the old G-Wagon in. Alright, so now we are center, axle end to axle end to the front of the frame. So the front and the rear are now in line. Left and right is perfect. All the way up the frame, left and right is perfect. Couple more measurements, and we might just start tacking. And just for peace of mind, we're gonna use this little magnetic degreer wheel thing. I got it at Harbor Freight. It was like $3. So for peace of mind, we are just going to check each side just so I can sleep tonight. So this is between, I'm gonna say between 23 and 24, so 23.5. And this side, oh, sorry, we're getting tight. Where are we? Just almost 24? You know what, man? For a Harbor Freight tool, I will accept a half of a degree off. Because God only knows who the hell welded this thing over in overseas. So off camera, I'm just going to do all those measurements one more time just so I know everything's perfect. Do a little bit more measurements that really aren't important. I'm just anal about some stuff. And then we're going to start tacking. I love this part. This is like my fourth favorite thing to say. Let's fucking weld shit. Bah! Very spicy. So if you guys remember me saying I beat this thing on and I was totally incapable of beating it off, so I forgot something. Remember the V-Valley pit when two pipes meet that I talked about? Well, I forgot to grind this one. And now this thing is close to permanent. So take another 45 minutes out of your day and go back to Harbor Freight and buy a 99-cent metal grinder file. There you go. I gotta play with the settings on this little baby welder. It's beautiful. So the overall weight difference is, wait, hold on. Nope, I'm not that strong, but still, it's so light. Dude, it's only like 80 pounds. It's not my fault I'm tiny. All right, enough fanny dicking. So we have each connecting piece drilled, slugged, welded. We have 3 tacks around each 4 mounting points. Got our sweet ass space there. Tacks all around here. Bop, bop, there. So this welder is, so that's why I'm taking it to a professional shop for them to either TIG or MIG, whichever one that they feel comfortable with would be a stronger penetration. And then once we get the frame back, we can, yeah. So hopefully this bad boy will, maybe be a roller by next week. So thank you for tuning in to another episode of Let's Fucking Build Shit. I'm gonna go party.